Hi everybody, Mr. Heisroad coming to you here live from my back deck. And one question that students always ask me every year when we start off this course is, what kind of course really even is this? Like, is this a history class? Is this an economics class? Is this psychology? Like, what is it? Well, again, Problems of Democracy kind of has a lot of aspects of a lot of those different disciplines in it. But if I had to kind of quantify it as just being like one type of class, probably the best definition would be it's a political science class. Now that then brings up a whole slew of other questions. Well, what the heck is political science? Well, political science is basically the study of how people form groups and then how we interact within those groups. So if you think about humans in general, I mean, we are an inherently social animal. I mean, we are in groups all the time throughout our daily lives. I mean, at our most basic root, I mean, our family is a group. Our extended family is a group. Our community is a group. Maybe the township or the borough that we live in, our school district is a group. Maybe many of you are members of religious denominations, which is a group, or an occupation or a place that you work. We are in kind of overlapping layers of groups every single day of our existence. Now, when I say that we study as political scientists interactions within groups, well, what we especially tend to focus on is the really, really large groups. State, municipality, nation, okay? And within that, we tend to look at things like policies. How do the people within the group decide to govern themselves? How do they decide maybe who has access to health care? Maybe they decide how to redistribute wealth or decide who gets what resources. A big question that political scientists look at all the time is the distribution of political power. So who has a say in a society, and what kind of say, and how can they exercise that say throughout their lives? So, political science really important. It's something that, I've always been kind of drawn to personally, because it's not like other sciences. If you go and you take physics, for example, you learn these like natural laws. You learn that, well, force always equals mass times acceleration. Okay, and you just plug in your numbers and you're going to get these definitive answers. Well, political science, being a behavioral science and dealing with humans, doesn't have those same kind of definitive laws. While we might say that, if we have this situation with this number of people and we add in this variable, it's oftentimes going to turn out this way. So, for example, if I'd say to all you, like, hey, I think that $50 is enough of an incentive to get all of you up and moving around doing some jumping jacks. Well, while that's probably true for like 95 to 100% of you, the things that we know about human existence and human behavior is that there's always going to be like that one guy. There's always going to be that one person that it's not enough of an incentive for. And so that's why inherently in political science we deal with theories. We analyze behavior. We try to predict future behavior, but there's no definites. There's no law that is unchallengeable. And that's why there's always so much discussion and debate. That's why we see this back and forth in the political arena, especially on the national level. Now, the thing about political science and political scientists is that even though there's different issues in different societies throughout human history, at the end of the day, again, the big issues that we tend to debate have kind of remained unchanged. Things like inequality. Again, things like who has access to power. Is there social mobility? Are we safe? And what kind of policies do we need to put in place to ensure that we're safe, maybe without encroaching too much on personal freedoms? So to help us understand a little bit about kind of the origins of political science as a discipline, I've invited over to my house today a lovely guest speaker. I've spared no expense bringing him in. Again, we're doing this live from the back deck so that we can socially distance and he feels comfortable. So give me a second. I'm going to go let him in my backyard, and he's going to tell you a little bit more about his ideas in detail. Ah, hello, dear friends. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Plato. Perhaps you have heard of me? Founder of the School of Athens, student of the great Socrates, teacher of Aristotle, who in turn was teacher of Alexander the Great. Well, if not, I am here today with you as part of my 2,400th anniversary book tour of my life's work, The Republic, by yours truly, Plato. In these pages, which can be yours today for the low, low price of $19.99, I have spent my life trying to outline and create the basis for a perfect society. A society where no one will know want, where all people will live in peace and harmony, where people feel safe and secure. And again, it can be yours for the low, low price today, $19.95, and if you call now, I'll throw in a Snuggie. Now you might say to yourself, Plato, buddy, friend, if what you say is true and you have this perfect society all mapped out here, why has no one done it? Why has no one put it into practice? And the answer to that, my friends, is that, frankly, over the many years, people have just not had the intestinal fortitude to get past step one. Once you're past step one, the rest will fall into place. It's smooth sailing from there on out. Now, my perfect form of governance that I outline in these pages, I call an aristocracy, which means rule by the best. And that's what it is meant to be, a wisely governed society. Because we all know that in many societies, we oftentimes have leaders who are perhaps not the most competent, or not the most able, or maybe very self-serving in the decisions. Myself, I'm from the city of Athens, and do you know how we choose our leaders in this great Athenian democracy that gets upheld? We literally take the names of all the male citizens of the city, we put them in a big hat, and every year we pull out 500 names. And those people make our decisions. Well, again, we uphold Athens as this founding cradle of democracy, but I can tell you many of our leaders are not worth a grain of salt. I view it as a poor system of governance. Now, in order to get this ball rolling, as I mentioned, step one is the very difficult step. I need to first ask you, in any society, throughout any part of history, what segment of the population generally fears and tries to prevent change? Think about this for a moment. I'll give you a hint. It's the same group of the population that likes to eat dinner at 3:45 in the afternoon. Yes, the old. So, step one of my master plan to create a perfect utopian society that can be yours today for $19.99 is to round up everyone over the age of 40 and send them on a very long vacation. Yes, it is all right here, right in chapter 2. From there, then, what we need to do is we then need to take the remainder of the population and bring them to a very large gymnasium where we will put them through all sorts of trials and tribulations. We will make them go through physical tests and problem-solving tests, and we will have them take academic exams. We will try to collect as much data on the attributes and strengths of these people as humanly possible. This, of course, will all be overseen by myself and, some other great philosophers. From there, then, what we will do is we will take our population and then we will sort it into 3 distinct separate categories. Have you ever seen the first Harry Potter film before? Where they go into the hall and they take the hat and they put it on and Gryffindor! It's going to be like that, kind of. Yeah, that's how I envision. In the first group of people, we will have people that are maybe not overly intelligent, people that are not overly cunning, not overly brave, not great physical specimens, but people that can work. Those people will be our laborers. Those people will live outside of the city walls, and they will spend all day toiling in various trades necessary for the existence of any city or state. There'll be our blacksmiths and our farmers and our cobblers and our toga makers. Those people, for the most part, will live their lives relatively unchanged. They will have their own dwellings. They will be permitted to amass wealth and possessions. They will have their own families. And they will be looked after and cared for by the other classes. All of their needs will be provided for them. In our second group, we will have our people that are extremely strong and valiant and conduct themselves in an honorific manner. But that might not be overly smart. These will be our auxiliary population. And the auxiliaries will be responsible for, in essence, training all day in the art of war, becoming great warriors, policing the city, as well as protecting us from our enemies, providing safety, and enforcing the wills of the top class. The top, then, of this great aristocracy that can be yours today for 1995 is what I call the guardian class. Our best and our brightest, the wisest amongst us. And these people will spend all day, every day, studying and making decisions for the good of the rest of the population. We have an issue with sewage disposal. All right, put a bunch of guardians on it, study, find out the best way, study other societies, take, and then implement and give orders. Now, one last important thing that I must bring up, because I say this, okay, division of society into 3 categories, and you might say, but Plato, what's going to keep people in their place? Why are the bottom laborers going to be happy? Why are the auxiliaries going to be happy? Why would the guardians not abuse their power? Well, the key to this whole system, what makes it work, the glue that binds it, is that amongst the upper 2 classes, all people in those classes will have to live collectively. So they will live in common dorms. They will not have homes of their own. They will not be permitted to amass physical possessions whatsoever. There will be no private property amongst them. Any time that they need anything, they will simply ask and command, and it will be provided from the laborers for their use. But the real key is that amongst the upper 2 classes, women and children will be kept in common as well. So what I mean by this, in case you are not following my train of thought here, is that any man who wishes to get to know any woman at any time may do so without recourse or repercussions. That in essence, the institution of marriage will not exist. And since any man may get to know any woman at any time, there's a high likelihood that most of us will not know whose child is whose. And so all men in the upper two classes will then take it upon themselves to raise each child as if it was his own child. And let me ask you this, my friends. What are two things that men have always fought over since the dawn of mankind, that they do today the same that they did in the 300s BC when I lived? Money and women. Well, we've taken away the woman part of the equation, and the money part then follows. Because if you have everything provided for you, why must you desire more? And what's the point of accumulating wealth if you cannot then leave it to your next of kin? Because you do not know who your heir is. The upper two classes will be provided for. They will have everything that they need. They have no reason to acquire more. They will live good lives by most standards. And the laborers will not want to rise up and revolt because they have something that the upper two classes lack. They have their own homes and properties. Even though they work and they provide and they produce, they're given children. They're given fathers. They're given homes and personal possessions, which would be much to risk for a common man. So, that's my book, my friends. Many people call me the father of political science. I know, it's impressive. I'm impressed. You might be impressed. But it's all here in this book, which can be yours today for 99 cents. Take care. So I hope everybody loved our lovely guest speaker today. Again, for as kind of out there as his ideas seem, we have to remember that really Plato was kind of the founder of political science as we know it today. He was one of the first guys to really kind of challenge the status quo, to kind of rock the boat, to basically say that, hey, things could be better than they are right now. So anybody that studies political science, wants to go to civil service, study history, I mean, there's a good chance that at some point you might be reading him and his ideas. So again, just meant to kind of give you a little idea of where all this started. When you're done watching this video, please make sure that you finish up the assignment attached to this